At stake is the status of Robespierre as a founding father of state terror. The first in a line of modest men with access to a higher truth. Men who loved humanity so much, they felt entitled to exterminate the human beings who stood in its way. One year to the day before his grisly death, Maximilien Robespierre was appointed to the Committee of Public Safety, the innocuous 4 words disguising the most awesome institution in revolutionary France. A provincial lawyer from Arras, he'd been destined for a life of obscurity until 1789, when he was propelled into the storm centre of the greatest event in history since the fall of the Roman Empire, the French Revolution. The revolutionaries had challenged the might and arrogance of the French court in Versailles. They'd executed their king and created a republic, whose watchwords were liberty, equality, and the rights of man. A government whose sovereignty was based in the people. But the revolutionaries also dreamed of a new type of society, one where human nature might be born again, where men and women freed from tyranny and social custom could achieve moral perfection. No one believed in this republic of virtue more than Robespierre himself. But in Robespierre, the Jacobin, the world got its first glimpse of a new type. A man who believed that the road to virtue lay not through persuasion, but through terror. The use of violence to perfect humanity was the brainchild of the Committee of Public Safety. In 1793, the unruly energies released by the revolution had been bottled up in this room. And it was here, in 12 murderous months, that the modern idea of state terror was born.
It's a moment in time when a society really does try and change itself.
More terrifyingly, according to his enemies, Robespierre was a prophet armed with scripture, a scripture he was determined to enact in France regardless of the human cost. The scripture was the social contract by Enlightenment philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a work that was said to have hardly left Robespierre's side. In it, Rousseau had argued that an increase in liberty would result in an increase in virtue, because it would bring man closer to his original, exalted nature.
Most of the revolutionaries are men of the Enlightenment. They believe that human character is like a blank slate.
And yet the violence of the state was becoming more intense than ever. Much of it was now directed towards de-Christianization, the forcible eviction of religious belief from French life by state-sponsored armed gangs. Happiness, virtue. To Robespierre, these were more than just vague aspirations. They were to be the permanent condition of the French citizens in the new republic.
And they thought that they could legislate so that people would be happy in this world, and that the poor were really the people who should be the powers of the earth.
But the poor in 1793 were not the happy, wise peasants of Rousseau's fond imagination. They were the sans-culottes of Paris, the miserable urban poor. And to them happiness meant not virtue, but food. This, the revolutionary dilemma, the calculated act of violence to speed human history on its way. For Robespierre, it was simple. Do you want, he asked, a revolution without a revolution?